Hello, this is Tony, and thank you for watching the first episode of Episodic Breakdown, a show where I take a film or a series, stop, and break it down scene by scene, with the idea to promote discussion. And so today we're going to be talking about my favorite show of 2019, HBO's Watchmen. We're going to be talking about the pilot, which is called It's Summer and Running Out of Ice. This is going to be a spoiler-heavy discussion about the comic and the series. So if you haven't read the comic and you want to, and you haven't seen the series yet, then I suggest please check those out. I'll leave links in my description to be able to maybe find both the book and the series. So let's get into it. So let's start the show. Today we're going to be looking at the opening scene or prologue of the first episode. The opening scene after the Watchmen logo is an old black and white silent movie. We hear someone playing piano, and we're watching a man in white on a white horse being chased by a man in black on a black horse. While the man in white is firing a gun at the man in black has a lasso that he uses to take the man down off the horse. This occurs in front of a church, and the priest and all the parishioners come out. The priest asking, "What have you done to our sheriff?" The man in black tells them their sheriff is their cattle thief. The priest then asks who he is. The man takes off his cloak, and we see a black man, and he's proudly showing off his badge. There's a young boy in the crowd who instantly recognizes him as Bass Reeves, the Black Marshal of Oklahoma. This all-right crowd cheers this hero on. The camera pans down to the boy that is watching this movie. As the story unfolds on screen, he is clearly watching his hero, his wide-eyed face full of joy and very likely inspiration. As we go back to the old film, the crowd wants to lynch the cattle thief. Bass Reeves will not stand for this, and here we hear the boy say, "There will be no mob justice today. Trust in the law." He says this before the words come on screen, so we understand that this boy saw the movie before, and it is likely his favorite. So what do we have to look at here? First, the whole opening foreshadows the entire series. We have two lawmen, one in black and one in white. And films from this era always had the hero in white and the villain in black. So the fact that these are both lawmen, and the one in white is a villain, and the one in black is a hero, is letting us know right up front to expect the unexpected. The heroes and villains may not be immediately clear. We see the hero use a lasso to take down the villain. He wanted to bring this person to justice, not kill him. We also see him state as much when the mob wanted to lynch their sheriff turned cattle thief, and he stands up to them even after they just cheered him on. So this is a character that believes in justice and won't give in to mob rules. And as you learn what is happening outside the cinema, mob rules is not something anyone should stand for. Now, how would this movie impact the boy that is watching? One, Bass Reeves was a real-life U.S. Marshal, and he was good at it. He was a former slave who escaped his master and lived with Native Americans. While living with Native Americans, he picked up several of their languages and knew the layout of their land. During this time, slavery was abolished and he became a free man. He spent his first 3 years as a farmer and raised 11 children. A U.S. Marshal by the name of James F. Fagan had heard about Bass Reeves and his life with Native Americans and thought Bass Reeves would make a fine U.S. Marshal because of his knowledge of their land and the multiple languages he could speak. He served as a U.S. Marshal for 32 years from 1875 until 1907, where he captured over 3,000 felons and killed 14 outlaws defending himself. One of the people he brought to justice was his son Benny Reeves, who was charged with killing his wife. The story is that this greatly upset him and he demanded to bring his son in himself. He did this, and his son was tried and sentenced for the murder. Bass Reeves was also put on trial for killing a cook, but he was ultimately acquitted. When Oklahoma became a state in 1907, Bass Reeves became an officer for the Muskogee Police Department for 2 more years. He served until he got ill and retired. He passed away not too long after this on January 12, 1910. He left a legacy in the real world as he is the great-uncle of Paul L. Brady, who was the first black man appointed as a federal administrative law judge in 1972. And he has a great-great-great-grandson in the NHL named Ryan Reeves, who has played for the St. Louis Blues and the Pittsburgh Penguins. He is currently playing for the Vegas Golden Knights. So we eventually learn that this boy is Will Reeves. He grows up to be the first costume hero, Hooded Justice, in the Watchmen universe. It is easy to see how this man, who looked like him and shared the same last name, would leave an impact. He was also a real person, not a fictional hero, so it was something real for Will to look up to. Because of this movie and Bass Reeves, Will had a strong sense of right and wrong and understood the difference between justice and revenge early in life. This might be worth something discussing about as we learn more about the character. On occasion, when we were watching the black and white movie, we would hear the piano falter now and again. Our focus is no longer on that movie, but the people in the cinema. We see a woman crying at the piano, and we hear explosion and debris falling from the ceiling, and the faltering piano is understood. The fact that she could play at all of her ability to cope with the situation and try to console the boy in some way was unbelievably strong on her part. We see a determined man come into the cinema, rifle in hand, which he hands to this woman, and we quickly understand that this is a family. What we see outside is unbelievable. This is Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we are witnessing people being brutalized and murdered in the street. The family is navigating this war zone, and we see people being shot, bombed, and just murdered in unimaginable ways. We see a thief strutting around in a stolen coat. A newspaper goes by that says "Lynch a Negro." We see a child of maybe 6 holding a dead baby, and we see men in KKK gear causing all this violence. All the victims appear to be black people, and what you see would make anyone feel sick. What is happening here is just beyond atrocious. We see this family make it to a garage. There's another family there planning to get out of the city. We see a quick conversation, and essentially there's not enough room for all of them, but they can take little Will. The boy says goodbye to his mother, while his father scribbles a note. He says goodbye to his father as he puts this note in his pocket. The father shuts the lid on the wooden box, and the car starts up and gets him out of there. Bullets are flying, and some come through the box. The boy looks through the bullet holes and sees a car dragging 2 bodies behind it. A plane flies overhead, and we see it drop a stick of dynamite on the garage his parents are in, and it explodes, and there's no chance of anyone surviving that. This scene is unbelievably bothersome, unbearable to watch, but when I first watched I thought it was just part of the story. To find out it actually happened sickened me. Then I became upset myself that I never knew about this. Now I'm just angry that it took a fictional show to shine a light on this, and perhaps maybe make us take a look at our history a little bit better. I just cannot justify in my mind why this isn't taught. If there ever was a "this must never happen again" teaching moment for this country, this is it. Hopefully this show will change that. Essentially what happened was a 19-year-old black man apparently stumbled getting into an elevator. He tripped on the way in and grabbed a 17-year-old girl's arm as one might do when one trips. This girl, surprised by this, gave a scream. It was investigated by the police as the scream was heard. The girl did not wish to press charges, she was not attacked, and that should have been the end of it. The young man was arrested as a suspect and should have been let go because it was all just a silly misunderstanding. It seems likely, though, that he was arrested for his own protection. He was actually moved to a more secure area than generally used because people were threatening him. It did not help when a newspaper published a headline mischaracterizing the incident with the headline, "Nab Negro for attacking girl in elevator." The KKK got their hatred up and wanted to make something of it. They went to the courthouse and demanded that he be turned over. Law enforcement refused to comply. Things escalated. More white supremacists showed up with weapons demanding he be released to them, and more black people showed up at the courthouse ready to defend him if needed. In the midst of this, a gunshot went off, and it is not clear who or why, but the end result was terrible. This is when KKK members and white supremacists went down to an area referred to as Black Wall Street. This is an area where many successful black business owners operated. They created a thriving business community and added value to the city. These, dare I say, people decided that they were not going to have any of that and just went to that area and started wantonly shooting, bombing, setting a fire, and just plain destroying everything in sight, even with planes dropping dynamite on the victims below. The violence was so terrible it is not known how many died, but at the end it is thought that it could be as many as 300. Estimated property loss was $1.5 million in real estate and $750,000 in personal property, which is about $32 million today. So the big question here, at least to me, is why wasn't this common knowledge? Was I not paying attention in school and missed this? This is something that's curious to me. If any of you folks listen to this, let me know if you heard of this before this show, or if this is your first hearing of it. Was I sleeping? Is this something that is taught and I just didn't know? I'm really curious. The escape of Will Reeves in this scene reminds me of Superman. Both are put in a vessel to escape imminent destruction, As they leave, their home and family are destroyed. They both go on to become the first costume hero of their respective universe. So now little Will wakes up in a field. He looks over, and the man and woman who took him out of the war zone are dead, and the car is turned over. He reaches in his pocket and he pulls out the note that his father wrote, which says, "Watch over this boy." It is written on the back of a letter that says, "Colored Soldiers of the States." His father receives this letter when he is serving in World War I, and we will talk about that then. The boy then hears a baby crying and he goes over to her. It is the daughter of the couple who died getting these children out of the war zone. He simply says to her, "You're okay," and she settles down, and she gives him a beautiful, trusting look. We understand these two orphans will be in each other's lives from here on out, and we actually learn that they do become husband and wife. The sad thing here is the face of the young boy is now gone, and is replaced by the face of a man in a boy's body. As the boy turns after looking at the burning city, he turns and walks down the street, down the long dirt road. We now see the title of the episode, "It's Summer and We're Running Out of Ice." To me, everything that happened on this day is what drives Will Reeves to become Hooded Justice and to make all the decisions he makes as an adult. It all started here. We're going to be kind of dissecting the show as we go, so we might be referencing this scene along the way. But this is something that is unmistakably the major driving point in Will Reeves' life. We'll be getting more into some of those other beats that form his life, but it all starts here. And here we'll end this episode of Episodic Breakdown. So please leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, share with your friends, and subscribe. It would really mean a lot to me, and I thank you.